Awesome. Okay. Well, I am Mike Gonzalez. I work for Hubble, parent company. I specific brands that I represent out in the field are Burndy. They sign my paychecks, and then Quazite is another Hubble brand that doesn't have outside representation. Hubble kindly asks if I can represent them out in the field. Of course, I say yes, and so now I also sell Quazite too. It's good. It kind of goes together because Burndy really works well with contractors, and a lot of below grade grounding, stuff like that. So the other piece of that is typically then you see a lot of in-ground enclosures where they're going to be tying in below grade stuff, right? So kind of makes sense that I would sell both because I tend to see a lot of opportunity for both, just kind of cross-pollinating and whatnot. The way I have this presentation broken down is I'm going to just talk a little bit about Quazite for the first half and then talk a little bit about Burndy for the second half. Feel free to stop me, interrupt me if you have questions about anything. I'll do my best to answer them. If not, I'll get you an answer. Just generally, I cover Southeast and Central Michigan. I have a counterpart on the west side of the state. His name's Clay Neal. We work real well together. So, if you have any issues about, this is going on the west side of the state, I don't know if I should talk to you about it. You can talk to me. I'll get you to the right person one way or another. But, that's not really your concern. It shouldn't stop you from making any sales or anything like that. All right. So Quazite, just a little bit about them. Obviously, they are in-ground enclosures. So we're going to look at something like that. Right. See those all over the place. All these, this will be a logo on there, right? That says electric. That kind of just lets you know what you're expecting to see in the box, right? Different types of enclosures. As you can see, varying types, straight sides, flared, round enclosures. They all have specific uses, for different applications. But at the end of the day, when the contractor's selecting a box to use, typically it's going to be what is available. So in terms of your role in it, it's making sure that you have common boxes in stock. So that way, when the customer's asking for it, you can service them right away. We do carry some stock at the factory, but these boxes get very heavy and they're pretty big depending on what size you order. So, easily can get over to 1,000 pounds, definitely bigger than an LTL truck. We're talking semi-trailers for a big project. So it's not kind of, oh, we can put it in a box next day and get it to you tomorrow type deal, right? So having stock locally always makes a big difference for sure. And like I said, maybe they needed a circle or maybe they needed a square. If you have this one, they'll take it if it matches the same size because they need it. Here, this would be a picture of an improperly installed box because that lid is not rated for direct traffic. And you can see that it's installed in the middle of a roadway. Will it last if a semi truck runs over it? Sure. 5 times? Probably. 10 times? Probably. 20 times? Maybe 30 times, 40. Then now we're talking about a hole in the middle of the street and, a normal size sedan runs that over. It's going to stop, which is probably not a good thing. So it's important to know where to install them, and that's going to be kind of on the later slides and all that too. But just something to think about. If you see one of these boxes in the road, it's not safe at all. So Quazite also offers these above grade cabinets too. We've got sectionalized cabinets, pad mount, pedestals, something like that. Basically, all it is an above ground junction box for medium voltage terminations. It's where you're going to land your T-bodies and arresters, stuff like that. You see this a lot in new construction. Obviously, they're going to need to tie in their medium voltage. That looks like a substation area, which you'll see that too. You see them a lot in solar because they're obviously going to be running power back to main substation. So that's big part of the piece right now with Burndy and Quazite is really capitalizing on solar. So too. But like I said, you'll see it in new construction too. You know, if there's a reno or there's a new project, you'll see sectionalizing cabinets called out in the spec. We're on spec with DTE for sectionalizing cabinets, so you know, that's kind of an easy avenue for us for new construction and on the solar side. This is kind of what they look like before they run all that medium voltage wire underground, right? Just kind of a junction box. Just to kind of put it in perspective, if we're just only talking about like a solar project, right? Like a utility scale solar project, just these boxes, $400,000 your guys' cost, you know. So it's quite a bit of money and something that not really many people are thinking about in terms of what do I sell on a solar site? Okay, pipe and wire. You got your, you know, panels. Anybody think about sectionalizing cabinets? There's some money to be made for sure. So just keep that in mind. This kind of gives you an idea of the Quazite footprint in the U.S. and in Mexico. Our main headquarters are Lenore City, Tennessee. Rocky Mount is another where we make a lot of the Quazite stuff. Oklahoma City is our newest facility that was kind of getting built during COVID. It's huge and brand new, and you have a lot of production capacity that can come out of that. We do make some of the product in Mexico, not all of it. For some of these like MDOT projects and Department of Transportation stuff that will require like a Buy American, something like that, just let us know when we're quoting it, because we can just make everything out of Rocky Mount or Lenore City. By default, our area kind of captures Lenore City, Rocky Mount, Juarez. So conceivably a box or two could come out of Juarez unless he told us otherwise, in which case we just all make it in Tennessee or North Carolina. So it's the Juarez facility. It's huge. It's in a giant Hubbell complex with a bunch of other places where we make various Hubbell products. Oklahoma City, like I said, this was acquired in 2022. It really finished at the end of 2023. It's a beast of a facility. It's really increased our production capacity. So, you know, I guess when I first started about 3 years ago, our lead times for Quazite were 144 calendar days, somewhere around there, maybe a little more. Now we're down to like 23 calendar days, 19 calendar days. Some stuff's 30. It's not very common to see that. It's typically 19 or 23 if it's not in stock. And mainly the drop in lead time can be tied to the Oklahoma City facility really being able to ramp up production. My bad. I saw that. Yeah, I'll stop turning. I'll stop turning away. Okay, so like I was saying before, really, you know, two types of enclosures that we'll make: below grade, above grade. Kind of different, you know, materials for each. Again, like there's fiberglass reinforced, and then there's the polymer concrete. That's going to be what you see for your standard underground enclosures. The fiberglass reinforced isn't super common, but you'll see it on the spec every now and then. In terms of like knowing if this is a Quazite or an armored cast or whatever, you don't have to necessarily worry about that too much. If you kind of give me the specifications or give me the drawings, I can translate that into a part that you can quote. So, you know, don't have to be a product expert to really be able to quote this stuff. This is more kind of the above grade stuff. So, I mean, you'll see traffic signal bases, you know, it just kind of goes to show that this stuff is really everywhere. Just kind of depends if you have the opportunity to quote it or not. Going more in depth into the below grade, again, you know, polymer concrete, the reinforced polymer concrete, these kind of plastic polymers, HP or HDPE. Again, that's even less common than fiberglass reinforced. And then this Voltec, this lightweight composite stuff, I've yet to ever quote that, to be completely honest with you. So it's there. I think it may be dealing more on the utility side, which I don't deal with utilities. So that'd be my guess. Just kind of going to the real basics of it. On our end, for Quazite, you order 2 parts, a box and a lid. right? The box is typically always going to be rated tier 22. The lid or the cover is what's really driving the specification rating in terms of, you know, how much weight it can actually handle. And then that size chart there, that just kind of gives you just an idea of the various sizes that we have. One thing that you'll run into when you're quoting this is somebody will inevitably say, I need like a 25 by 28 by 31 and a quarter. We don't make that. But if we have a 26 by 30 by 35, should be fine, you know. And if it's not, then we can do a custom enclosure if they need to. But 99.9% of the time, where these are going, there's going to be a little bit of a tolerance, right? Like, oh, I could probably handle another 3 or 4 inches, but you know, I couldn't handle another foot. We can always kind of, you know, hone something in and make it work. And sometimes on the spec, they oversize these boxes because they just don't know what everything's going to be in there. So they just make it a little bigger. And if you tell them like, hey, you make it a little bigger, it's going to be more expensive and it's going to be not exactly what you want, then we can usually have a conversation about it and just try to find something that'll make everyone happy. Yeah, just rule of thumb, like I said, the box is tier 22. The cover is really going to be what indicates what it's rated to when it's installed. And then I have some information about the tier ratings in a second. Go back. What is happening? Okay. So this is just kind of some key stuff to look at. The enclosures, they come with the mouse holes on either side, right? Because it's a junction box, so you need to have somewhere to pull the wires through. That load rating requirement, you'll see that on all the lids. You'll see it on our competitor stuff too. It'll have the tier rating on the bottom corner. Obviously, the logos, we can change those. We can make custom logos. Like MDOT probably has 8 loaded logos in our system for all different projects that they've ever done. So if you get a customer that's like, I need this custom logo, we can do it. We'll make a new one. It'll be $60 for the setup fee, and then it'll be in our records forever. So you just, you know, download the CNC file and make the logo however they want. But then there's all sorts of value adds we can add if they want knockouts, if they want like a little kind of grommets and through holes. We can do all that. Typically, the contractor doesn't really want to wait for it. They'll do it themselves if they really feel the need. But there's times when they get spec'd and, you know, that's how they want it. So we can definitely do it. A blank slide. Yes, it is. Okay. Well, there you go. So this is kind of, I really like this slide because it shows the different tier ratings and where you typically see them, right? You'll notice as you get closer to seeing traffic directly in the way, the tier rating is going to move up to 1522. Like you look at that top left corner there, that's going to be a tier 8. It's not really on the roadway. It's a vehicle approach. Nobody should be flying, right? So if you're doing 10 miles an hour, you should be able to stay right where you're intending to go. But you see on the alleyways, obviously the way those are installed in the alleys, they're on the sides because you really are not wanting the vehicle traffic to be assuming they're going to be hugging the side of a wall, right? They're going to be driving right through the middle. But again, you still want a tier 15 because there's a chance that you're going to see some accidental traffic. Kind of same thing on a divided highway. It's going to be tier 15 or tier 22. Then you see like this one here with the house. There's a little transformer back there. They have a tier, you know, tier 8, tier 5 back there because if a car ends up back there, the least of your problems is the fact that your enclosures are rated correctly, you know. And then this kind of gives you an idea in terms of pound rating of how the enclosures are rated, right? So a tier 15 or tier 5, you're looking at around 5,000 to 7,000 pounds of force. You get up to tier 22, you're looking at 22,500 pounds, right? So that's kind of where that tier rating name comes from. You know, the way they test them, they do test the the horizontal pressures, but they also test the vertical pressure. That's where you're going to see a lot of it. So that's why the lid rating comes into effect. And like I said, I mean, if there's questions about it, you can always ask me, and I'll tell you what I would suggest, and then you can let the customer decide from there, basically. But it's just a good tool to at least get an idea of generally where you would see it. Because a lot of the times too, contractors, they'll just like, you know what, I don't want to deal with it all. I'm just quote them all tier 22. And it's like, you're going to pay a lot more money and you probably don't need it, right? Like, so if we don't know that, then we're not doing a good service with the customer. It'll be like, you give them some solid advice on how to take our product, right? UL, I mean, these below grade, the UL listing, it's not really anything that's super unique to BurnD or anything like that, but it's a requirement for all these MDOT, DDOT projects, all that kind of stuff. So we are UL. It's just kind of part of the whole deal. It's going to be required for all those municipal projects and things like that. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of the basic run through of the Quazite side of products. It's not anything that's overly complicated, but you can definitely run into some confusion for sure. So if anybody has any questions or run into anything, feel free. If not, we can move on to the BurnD portion as well. But and I guess the only other thing to say about it is you guys are bringing in stock currently. So you're going to see more opportunity to actually sell the stuff, and your pricing is extremely competitive, we'll say. I've seen competition pricing, and your guys into stock is better. So you should be able to beat out Oldcastle just quoting our product, and should be fine. If you got large project opportunities, obviously let me know. I can always work on pricing beyond what your into stock is if the project dictates it and all that kind of stuff too. But yeah, I mean that's Quazite. That is Quazite. Now the company that I work for, BurnD. So BurnD is a great company. I'll just say that. We're based out of New Hampshire. 90% of our products made in the US, made out of 2 facilities in New Hampshire. We have a facility in Ohio that we make some of our mechanical lugs. And then we have a facility in Mexico too, right by that Quazite facility. But all our product engineers, all the manufacturing engineers, they're all based out of New Hampshire. That's kind of where everything runs out of. And we got started with the split bolt back in like the 1920s, which is just a mechanical grounding, right? What I'm going to talk about today is the BurnD engineered system, which deals more with compression, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. But basically, when you think BurnD, we do 3 things. We tap, terminate, and splice wire. We just do it in thousands of different ways. So really, again, like the engineered system is the tool, the die, and the connector, right, that makes a UL connection. Okay. As you see there, right? So the BurnD die, the BurnD connector, BurnD tool, BurnD die, and then the installation procedure. So you make a safe, reliable UL connection using our product. Now, there are ways to make UL connections without that, but BurnD doesn't test our products with any competitors' tools or any competitors' dies or anything like that, right? So what I'll get questions on is, I have an Ilsco connector and I have a Milwaukee tool. What BurnD die would you use? I don't know. I've never used a BurnD die on a Ilsco connector, neither of my product managers, right? I can tell you, okay, it's a 2-aught wire. This is what I would use for a 2-aught wire, but that doesn't mean it's going to make the same connection. We're not going to do free work from Milwaukee, right? Like Milwaukee says to use our product sometimes, and so does Ilsco, so does Greenlee. Why? Because we make a good one. And we let them decide if they want to test our product in their UL system. So generally, kind of the ease of installation, right? What the basics of the Burndy engineered system is pretty simple, but so you have your connector, right? This is a butt splice. You'll notice there's some black banding. It says black die 13 or 100, right? The die. You have a die index number. You have a color code, right? So you match up the color code to the index number. Color code, it's black band, right? Or you see the die index number 13. What is this? Black 13 or 100, right? So it makes it simple. That's the idea, because when contractors are working out in the field, you want to make it as easy as possible. So having the color coding, having everything on the actual connector, on the actual die itself, actually makes a difference, you know. And it may seem like a small thing, but contractors appreciate it because it makes their life easier. And what do we know about contractors? If we can make their life easier, they're going to love us, right? So that's going to be something that that you'll hear people talk about. And you know, I didn't really believe that it was as much of a value add as it was until I really started selling the product, and people appreciate that, because not every manufacturer is like that. And then this kind of goes into the warranty comparisons, which some of this may have changed with the other manufacturers at this point now, but I mean, it kind of all goes to the point of what I'm making, right? Is that these other manufacturers, they're not going to give you the same type of warranties because their system isn't set up for it. You know, like Milwaukee doesn't make a connector, make a die and a tool. You know, Ilsco, they don't make their own tool. They private label a tool. I don't know if they do dies, but you know, at the end of the day here, you know what? This is actually, I'm gonna test this out. And I have some sample, or I have more of these too for any of the yeah, I'm gonna hand this out before I start. Okay. But yeah, so if you look at the fold out on the third page of our limited warranty, I mean, we're going to give you a 5-year warranty on any connection. We stand by the connection if it's done correctly because we know that it's been done correctly. We have our own UL test lab, so we test everything ourselves. You know, there's ways, like I was saying, to make a UL listed connection using other manufacturers' tools and a combination of dies and stuff, but I wouldn't recommend you figure out the logistics of that. And, you know, if a contractor feels really strong that they can make a UL rated connection using a hodgepodge, I guess be my guest, right? But we have the testables, we have the data. It's a no-brainer. And, you know, just kind of speaking about contractors in general, it's the Motor Cities of the world, it's the J ranks of the world, it's the Contis of the world that know and use and trust our product, because I don't have to stand up on a soapbox and do a song and dance for them. You know, it speaks for itself. The quality of the product speaks for itself. We have the engineers, we have the, you know, the drive to make it happen, and that's why they use us. You know, the guys that can't really pay for their bill until they get their next job, you know, maybe those guys don't see the value of making a true, you know, solid connection and stuff like that. But, you know, that's just kind of the way it goes. And then just in general, kind of our value proposition, right? We have the expertise, we have the portfolio, we're spec'd in a lot of industries. You know, reliability, like I said, we have our own UL test lab. You really can't say that about competition. The ease of installation with the engineered system, The inspection, that's the other key piece of it too, is that once you make that connection using the die, right, you get the die index number stamped on there, and you get the Burndy logo stamped on there, right? Inspectors love to see it because how an inspector will go about it is, okay, so this is a 2-aught wire, right? And you use this connector. I have to look at the die index number to make sure that you use the right die index number for the connector, right? If you used a 15 and it's supposed to be a 13, you're cutting that all out and starting over, So inspectors like to be able to see it. And that's something that it's repeatable too, because for grounding, let's say, you can use exothermic grounding. Inspectors, how can an inspector verify? Does anybody know how an inspector verifies if an exothermic ground is done? How? With a hammer. That's it. If it falls apart, do it again. If it doesn't, it was good enough. Right, exactly. How does an inspector inspect a compression connection for grounding? Look at the die index number. That's it. If your tool's right, you're good to go. So that's like, we sell exothermic grounding. I don't like to push it because we have it. It's there. But compression grounding is by far it's more repeatable. It's safer, easier. You can use the Burndy engineered system. There you go. And then service and support. We have great customer service people. I don't know if any of you had to call the Burndy customer service line at all before. They're awesome. Tech support, equally as awesome. Try us out if you got any questions, for sure. They're pretty good over there. And then kind of the last piece I'll touch on is, so, I mean, again, we were talking about the Burndy engineered system. So it's the connectors, the dies, and the tool, right? When it comes to tooling, we make a superior product. I'll say that 100%, because, not only do we engineer it ourselves, we build it ourselves, we repair them ourselves. We make everything on this unit. For this one, having the T3, we don't make the microchip that's in there, but everything else, and then the jaw is stamped by Smith & Wesson on a 40-ton press, but everything else we make ourselves. And like I said, we repair it ourselves too, so we keep track of our quality control issues, and we do a pretty good job of it. We don't do consumer grade products, like your Milwaukees of the world who make, good, better, best, whatever. This is contractor grade. We make industrial tools. We make crimpers and cutters. That's it. We don't play around with hand tools. We don't do anything fancy. We stick to what we know, and we make a superior product because of it. And it's simple things too, like on our tool, to make a crimp, right? You're going to drive your head forward, right? I'm not going to go all the way to force just for the sake of it, but let's say major crimp, right? Now, competitor tools, right? You want to draw back and make another crimp. You hit the button and it retracts back. Wait. All right, it's back. Start your crimp process over, right? So with ours, you can control the drawback. Make your crimp. All right, get some space. Put the other one in. Well, make some space. Keep going, right? That little bit makes a difference, When you're making 2 crimps, what's a minute? Who cares? You're making 50 crimps. Now we're talking about a lot of time savings, right? And that's simple feature. That simple feature is, one of several. But that's just an easy one to show. Like we do that, like, you put a DeWalt here, put a Milwaukee here, put whoever. Let's play that game. How many crimps can you make in a minute? I'll win, guaranteed. So again, price point is going to be high. I can work on the price point for you too, but at the same time, I'm not going to sell it at the price of a Milwaukee crimper, because you'll buy 2 Milwaukee crimpers in the time that you'll have to send in mine for repair, and it's just what it is. It's why a lot of the bigger contractors are moving away from a lot of the Milwaukee crimpers because, you talk to them and they got to write another rec for Milwaukee crimpers, and they haven't really had that issue with Burndy. So, um, I think that's just going to continue. I don't think our tooling was very well represented in the market before I took the job, so I think I have a lot of opportunity to grow it, and it's working so far. So, um, and then this is the latest and greatest on our tooling side. So this is the T3. Stands for track, trace, transmit. Basically, it is a cloud-based storage system where, like I was saying, there's a little chip in here, right? So it transmits the information up to the cloud. We pay for the cloud storage. You guys, if you buy the tool, you don't have to pay a monthly fee or anything, right? So that information gets stored up in the cloud. What's it storing? It's storing the location where your crimp was made, right? So make the crimp. Status indicator light turned green. That means it hit 15 tons of force. Lets you know right away on the tool, which means it's a good crimp. That data is up in the cloud. So now if I were to pull up my phone and go to the app, it'll show that I made a crimp right here. It'll show that it hit 15 tons of force. And then it would allow me then, if I open up the app, to take a picture, it'll tie it to that crimp that I just made. And like a Google Maps, just like she's like how would it show? And it just shows on like a satellite map. So it'll just show it on the satellite map. And like I said, yeah, it shows the output force validation. So meaning if let's say a guy didn't complete the crimp, he didn't drive it all the way through, you'll get an indicator that turns red up here, but it'll also store that up in the cloud too. So if the guy's not paying attention, doesn't see the indicator light, right? And it's like, yeah, I made all the crimps. I'll get back to the job trailer at the end of the day. Let's pull it up. Crimp number 20. Go do that again. Saves some time, and then obviously. You would be able to see it would look pretty funny on a satellite map because they would probably all be in the same exact area. But yeah, you'd be able to see. And like I said, it stores all the data. So if you were to never log in and create an account and just kept making crimps with this thing, as soon as you create your login, it'll just flood with all the crimps that you've made. So it's well, you can do it by date. You can sort it by date, right? So like that would be the biggest way to kind of sort it through. But yeah, I mean, selling like it's great on a solar site because I mean, solar sites are freaking huge, right? So it's great to know if maybe I missed a crimp somewhere on the other side of the facility. I don't have to drive 20 minutes to make it. It's great for reporting. Like there's a customer that does chiller units, and they do a lot of chiller units for for data centers. Now, like they had a Google job and they had to basically record every single crimp that was made, what dye they used, right, to make sure that it matched up, the location that it was at, like physically in their chiller unit. And they had a guy once a month on an Excel spreadsheet just type it away. You just hit print CSV. That sold the tool. Like, hey, you don't have to do that once a month now. Just hit print CSV and you're good to go. So it's really great when you have a customer that is really focused on traceability, all that kind of stuff. The app is pretty handy. The T3 technology is on our 15-ton, which is this one. It's on our 12-ton tool, and it's on our 11-ton diamonds tool as well. And yeah, and so I have this is actually a repaired customers tool that I'm using right now, but I have another demo that they're using right now that I have in my possession. So if you have a customer that wants to try some out, what I've done in the past is, you're got a contract doing a small job. They don't have a Burndy tool. They don't have a crimp tool at all, right? Buy my Burndy connectors. I'll loan you a Burndy tool. Try it out. Tell me if you like it. I don't charge for that. So I just believe that the guys that are making the crimps, if I get those Burndy tools in their hands, they tend to give positive feedback. So yeah, if you have any questions about tooling, any of the Burndy stuff, I didn't really touch on like a ton of it. I mean, what you'll get is this big hard shell case, two Burndy batteries, two Makita batteries, the Makita charger, and the tool. That's like our base, what you order. We have like a soft shell bag that you can order too instead of the hard shell case. I mean, you could order it just the base tool also if you wanted to save some money. Like it would just ship just like that. No tool, no batteries. Reason being, we actually have a battery adapter that'll slide on the end of the tool and it'll accept the Milwaukee battery. So my value add to contractors has been like, keep your Milwaukee batteries. I don't care. I'll give you an adapter for free. Just buy my tool. Slide all your Milwaukee batteries in there. I don't work for Makita, so it is what it is. So that's been great, and it saves them. And then they don't have a bunch of batteries that they don't need anymore. And how do they charge? Just the slide on the charger. Yeah, unless you don't want it to, and then in which case it wouldn't. No. But yeah, so on the tooling side, yeah, we do repair our tools as well. So if you have a customer out in the field, whatever, I really, 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 on my end at least, I don't try to make any money off tool repair. It's a very small amount of money that I'm going to make to begin with. So I try not to charge the customer very much at all. If anything, I'll try to get it done under warranty just because I want them to have a good taste in their mouth about our tools. This is kind of cool here. So this kind of goes, I just took a really long barrel splice and I crimped every type of crimp that we have on it. So there's again, so like the real small one is our 6-ton little inline crimper. We have our 12-ton. You see our dialless one is the one that's kind of looks like a V. It's just mashed together. There's this little 4-point, the dialless as well. That one, yeah. So you see that a lot in datacom stuff. Really only because it looks pretty. That's what I've been told on several vacations. Why did you use that 4-point? Just because it looks nice. I don't know if it's true or not, but that's what they tell me. Yeah, our tooling capabilities are pretty awesome. Kind of transitioning away to, we'll say, a middle fun ground. This is a shear bolt connector, which is the newer technology. Some people have it though. It's not compression. It's not mechanical, but it's irreversible, which is kind of interesting, right? So basic concept, you start with this, you shove your wire in, and then you take a 3/8 hex bit with an impact driver and just drill this down until it shears off like that. And once that's done, it's done. It's installed. This one, they have a little bit of range. Yeah, this one goes like 4/0 to 2/0. So the range, it's not a huge range take, but it's enough. And they're aluminum, so they're going to be dual weighted. So obviously, it's a little bit of a catch-all too, which is nice. We do 2-hole. All the 2 holes are just going to be NEMA standard 1 3/4 hole space. We'll do a 1 hole, and then we do a butt splice version too. Yeah, I mean it's really nice to throw on the back of a service truck for sure, because you just don't have to bring a crimper. Also, really what I found is for large gauge wire, it's very helpful. Like if you've ever seen anybody try to make a crimp on like a big 750 wire, it takes some effort, right? There's like usually a guy holding the jaw and trying to seat the connector right. Like he's holding it here, trying to seat the connector because the connector's so big and the jaw is just barely big enough. And then there's one guy controlling the drive, right? Actually making the crimp. With that, you just take that big unwieldy wire, just shove it right in, and then zip, zip, zip. Now you're done. So ease of installation on that is pretty crazy. They like those a lot on the solar side. Um, but you have to, it depends, I should say. It can be very helpful on the solar side, but it depends on the contractor. If they think that they can make a bunch of crimps real quick, they won't pay the extra money. Debatable, but it does work really well for large gauge wire. So this is just our standard hooks, right? Has anybody seen the high stack before? So other manufacturers make them too. Uh, Basically, just use your imagination. Because then this is the bus bar. Let's say the bus bar is full, and you got to land something else on the bus bar. Buy a new bus bar. Buy this guy. Any standard 1 3/4 Nema hole space. I should say that first. Just a little sandwich. So now you've doubled the capacity of your bus bar. The only thing they need to buy is slightly longer hardware to mount, and you save them a little effort. And I mean, this thing is probably like $10 your guest cost, so you know, nothing too crazy. They come in 3 sizes. It goes all the way up to like 750, but that's the real small ones. Not a new product by any means, but just kind of one of those fun things that you're like, oh wow, I wouldn't have thought of that. This thing's pretty cool too. This is mechanical grounding. You guys ever run into any kind of fence grounding, sliding gate applications, anything like that? That little widget will ground to the mesh of the fence. So if you just open it up, basically, open it up here all the way, it would just slide through, and then you put your grounding wires right in there, and then just hug it tight to the mesh of the fence, and you're good to go. So it's nice if the gate's moving, because then you don't have to worry about it. You just throw it right onto the mesh, and yeah. A little small guy. Like a sliding gate applications are pretty cool. It won't work on agricultural fence, though. I learned that the hard way. I had to accept a return on it. The ag fence is too thin, so just something to think about. These here, this is part of our compression grounding line. Goof pins, pin adapters, oh crap pins. Everybody familiar, right? Yeah. So somebody missized the wire, and the wire's a little too big to land into the breaker. What do? Oh crap, buy one of these, right? So it'll convert whatever wire is going in here to a pin size that's equivalent to a smaller wire size. So can be very handy. Instead of ripping out all the wire that you just ran, buy one of these. We do have mechanical versions too, actually, which is nice. Some OEMs would actually eat that up depending on what they're doing. Because I've seen OEMs that just buy these, crimp them on, cut them off when they have to test again, crimp them on, cut them off, diminishing returns on that. Uh, this is cool. This is a direct burial submersible rated splice. Now this will go anywhere from 12 to 350. And all you do is cut the corresponding cone sizes out, right? So this is an uncut one. This will go anywhere from 12 to 350. This one was already previously installed. So cut the cone to the corresponding size, right? That's just basically the little grommet. Run your wire in, hit it to torque up here, drop it in 3 feet of water is what we tested them. So it, tie in. We have a whole line of whatever the trade name Polaris connectors, right? Everybody knows that, or we call them Unitab. So, anything like this, we also offer like this direct burial submersible rate. So just something good to know. Um, you know, here's another fun, well, kind of new product. We've always had our insulation piercing connectors, which you run your main line here. Your tap will come out of this side. These little teeth bite through the insulation, so you don't have to strip any of the insulation. It had a standard bolt. So, of course, nobody ever hit it to torque because when you're up above, you're never going to bother. You just crank it down as hard as you can, obviously. You put a shear bolt on. So now, no torque setting. You shear it off just like that shear bolt there. And then, so once that little head pops off, it's installed. So, again, 3/8 bit. So you just run it through, run your tap out, torque this down till it bites through. Once the head comes off, then it's good to go. So, and then this little cap does remove too. So if you want to do a continuous run, like this one's capped here, if you want to do a continuous run, and let's say you're landing down here, just remove the cap and you're good to go. So save a lot of time if somebody is not using it and they have to strip the wire themselves. What do we got for time? Oh. Some mechanical lugs. We make mechanical lugs. We make them all different kinds, all different sizes, all different ways. We actually have a company in Hubble that's called CMC. They're connector manufacturer company. That's where we outsource all of our mechanical lugs to. So they actually make all of our mechanical lugs for us. They're the place over in Ohio. So that being said, you guys have a direct line to any like OEM spec stuff like this. I mean, there's all sorts of weird ones that CMC's made out past and have gone into places. So, if you see anything weird that's not quite exactly what's in the catalog, or somebody's like, I need this, but I need it with like, a quarter of an inch of a tongue and just a small hole, we can do it. So just something to think about. Yeah. I mean, I only got 10 minutes. I can dig into something else, but how about I show you guys how the slide charts work? That's fun. You guys ever seen these? And then also Hubble Connect. Also Hubble, yes, yeah. I'm making sure everybody has something. But Hubble Connect is awesome because everybody have access to Hubble Connect. Because you should. If nothing else, even for the outside sales guys, you can plug in the part numbers and get just getting sheets super easy. And it's connected to all Hubble brands. So if you have a job where you're pulling up is probably okay. You can add some. I'm not stingy with them. You can keep them. Leave stuff for the counter. Yeah, I was gonna give some. But yeah, this little handy cheat sheet here will make you look a lot smarter than you are because it's done it for me plenty of times. So if you're trying to spec out a connector, right, the two biggest things to know are the stud size and the wire size. So this gives you a little cheat sheet to all our tier A items. So on the right side here, there's a little arrow, right? And as you slide this up and down, the arrows move. Now there's the little columns and rows. So the bolt size is on that far left column, and then conductor cables on the side, right? So if I were to say, what is a one hole stud with an inspection window for a 3/0 half-inch stud? Can anybody give me the answer for that? 3/0 half-inch stud. What's the answer? What do you got? Yep, 3/0 half-inch stud. One whole stud with inspection window. YA 27L box is what I got. 3/0 half-inch inspection window. Oh yeah, yes. Okay, yeah. So again, there we go. So yeah, the copper flex is on the right side here, and then just the standard code, right? So that's actually a good point there. So yeah, there you go. So if you get that, well, if you get the flex, or they have the standard code conductor too. So yeah, but that'll give you all the tier A items that match that. There's more in our catalog than obviously just what shows up here, but those tend to be the ones that are in stock. The other nice thing too is that on like that third column, it shows you the die index number too. So again, it's just part of the system. Trying to make it easy. And then the back side is aluminum. So same deal, just the aluminum conductors. Has information on the pin adapters too. And then in terms of anything else, like I got Quasite catalogs if anybody wants some. I got some big doorstop Burndy catalogs. These are brand new though. So these are 2024, hot off the presses. I got some small commercial industrial catalogs. And I don't know. Anything else you want? You can tell me. But yeah, I think any questions or anything? If not, I think I pretty much ran through. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I'll make sure I get them.
I mean, I can send them if you don't.
No, I'll go. Yeah, no, that's perfect. Yes. That's actually one of the benefits of using the T3 is that it actually tracks how many cycles you've made. So then like eventually we'll be able to, notify you like, oh, you're hit like 800 crimps, like try to send it in. But yeah, it's about 6 to 800, somewhere around there. And that doesn't even mean that like 6 to 800 is when it needs to be serviced. It's more or less like 6 to 800 crimps. Double check to make sure your force output is still hitting 12 tons, that kind of stuff. Like,
how does that calibration process work? How do you verify? So like a full test, how do you verify force output?
I mean, so we actually have a force test gauge. It's literally just looks like a flat pad with like a pressure gauge on the other side, and you just bring that flat pad, and it's just an analog gauge basically.
Okay, so there's something done at the factory.
That's something done. Yeah, so like when you get, when you buy a new tool, it's obviously calibrated. If you send in a tool for repair, we calibrate it before we send it back to you. If you need anything like the NIHS, the National Institute for the Scientific Testing, if you need that, that's like a little extra charge. But we can calibrate it to those standards if that's what you need. But the other thing too, though, is like for this one, it has the visual indicator light on it. So if you drive it so if I'm driving it and I pull up right there, it's going to show red. So that means that it didn't hit 12 tons of force. But if I cycle all the way through, so there's a visual indicator on there. Don't get that unless you get the T3 though. But yeah, I mean, there are force test gauges you can just buy if the contractor's unsure. But usually what we say, and I have one too, so if you have a contractor like mine hasn't been serviced in years, I can at least come in and do like a force test gauge so we can say, it's not hitting 12 tons, probably should send it in because it's not up to spec. So But yeah, and then I have loaner fuel, so we could easily just, you know, if it loan you more, then just, you know, so we can make it work. Awesome. Yes, it's very handy.
That's where he doesn't make him anymore. Everything they sent you on,
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
with the motor data on.
Yeah.
So great. And